Hello and welcome to Fiber Trek. My name is Sarah. Welcome, you are most welcome to this creative space here in the North Woods of Maine. On this edition, I'm looking forward to sharing with you a new book that I've added to my library, as well as a sewing project and an embroidery project that has been a long time in the making. There is not a lot of knitting to share, but I hope that you enjoy some of the other crafting endeavors as well as discoveries and purchases that I've made on this edition. If you have donated through Ko-fi or are a patron of this podcast, a deep, heartfelt thank you. I'm so glad you're all here. Let's catch up.
Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden, 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 golden things.
For a long time, I have been wanting to experiment with this concept of the perfume bomb over a liquid roller ball, which is what I originally had done when I started experimenting with this for the Yell. If you remember, I kind of developed a scent profile to guide my thoughts around color and the overall feel and what that color story might evoke. And so I put together a series of scents to kind of create my own perfume. And this was another attempt to put it together, so it might be easier to ship for those that would like some, who are my friends. And the other was that I felt like the beeswax added a body to it that the oil didn't, and so it would have like a kind of a more grounding scent. So anyway, this is that experiment happening. We will let everything cool and then give it a try and see if it was able to retain the signature scents and yeah, how it overall turned out. So I think what I would like to do is maybe make some labels for these, just something fun and artistic with some sticker paper. And yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, I have a few more projects I want to kind of target before I head out today, and I'm going to go do that while these cool. Farm and Folk Quilt Alchemy, a high country guide to natural dyeing and making heirloom quilts from scratch by Sarah Larson Buscaglia, is a recent addition to my library. I have followed this particular fiber artist, textile artist on Instagram for a while, and I forgot that she was publishing a book, and I was so thrilled to stumble upon it when I was researching a couple other crafts. I have aspirations to do some natural dyeing and using fabrics and mixing that with some of my quilt interests. And this book really divides up that beautifully, from the supplies that you need for the dyeing, recipes for colors, depth, discussion around that, and then using the fabrics in quilt patterns. So it really covers a range of skill sets, and I like that you can kind of work from raw material to finished product. But aside from the technical aspects of the book, it is visually really beautiful. There are more than just quilt projects in here. There are tool rolls, there's a poncho, and she does take you all the way through the finishing of the quilting process. I am looking forward to digging in this summer to some of these skills, and I will look forward to taking you along with me. Isn't this book really lovely and beautiful? I have aspirations to work with natural dyeing this summer, and I did 2 summers ago. You may have caught those episodes where I worked on some shibori and indigo dyeing, and I've done cyanotype fabric before too to incorporate into a quilt. So I just felt that this book had a lot of great inspiration for that, and it made me think of this bundle that I purchased. These are 2.5-inch strips. I purchased this from Laundry Basket Quilts, and I'm not sure if it was a Moda release or what, but it has that feeling that book is evocative of those natural dyes, neutrals and kind of faded, moody, sad colors. So I'm looking forward to utilizing this, taking inspiration from the book, adding my own riff on fabrics and colors and dyeing. So this finally found its place and what I wanted to do with it and break it up and use it. Now, the other thing that, aside from the book, that I've purchased is some tweed bundles from Beyond Measure in the UK. I was greatly inspired by Kate of the Last Homely House, and she had purchased these to make a curtain, and I've been contemplating them for a while since I saw that video and what I would do with them. And then I happened to come across Thread and Yarn, her podcast, as well as her Instagram. And she has just released the Bilbo vest, which is a really charming little vest, and that is sewn, which is reminiscent of kind of Hobbity feel, Bilbo-esque, etc. And I thought, I want to make a patchwork tweed version of that, and I'm going to use the Beyond Measure tweed rolls. So 2 kind of things came together, and I decided to purchase those for myself. What's really nice is on the site you can choose your color families, so they have like earthy brown and aquas, or forest greens and plums. And so I went through and I just purchased a few of the more colorful, if you will, for me, the kind of soft butter yellows and burgundy plums to offset most of the earthy browns that I put in for. So I'm really looking forward to that. I have some thoughts and questions and research I want to do. Maybe you have some insight you might want to share. And serendipitously, Kate just published of the Last Homely House a video she did on making a lap quilt out of these fabrics. And one thing that I'm wondering about is if I need to stabilize them with interfacing. I worked with some Adabrock woven wool for a bag, and I just found that the fabric moved around a lot. It was prone to stretching. It just didn't have a lot of stability because the weave was kind of open. And you'll see that some of these, not a lot of these, do have some open texture, kind of woven elements to them. And so anyway, I've been thinking about interfacing them because I want to create small patches, patchwork, and then cut the fabric from that for the vest. So there's a lot of opportunity for stretching and just whatever, coming out of alignment. Sorry, my words escape me. So anyway, that's kind of, I'm in the research phase of this now. I've gathered some materials and I just want to kind of experiment with it. I did note that Kate did not interface hers and she was putting her quilt together and it came out fine, and she didn't seem to have much fuss about it and enjoyed the process and wasn't kind of pulling her hair out as the fabric was moving everywhere. So can I achieve that with my slightly amateur skills? I'm not sure. Yeah, so I just wanted to share with you some of the fabric thoughts that I have. If you're over on Patreon, you would have seen another little haul that I brought in for some quilts, as I mentioned before, that I want to make. And so, yeah, but I wanted to really share those tweed fabrics because they're just so beautiful and lovely. So, yeah, so we'll see what that becomes.
If I got every word perfectly weighted on a thin piece of paper, would it make any difference? Would it change for the better if I wrote you a poem, if I posted a letter? Is it maybe because I never knew quite where I was, and suddenly you...
If you've been with me for a while, you might remember this little project. This is a marshmallow. It is inspired by the Sami sewing kits, and my friend Sofia Carlson from Sweden, she made one, and I was really intrigued by it and found it very whimsical and fun. And again, another palette canvas, sorry, for working with hand embroidery. So I made this as a little prototype, and it turned out so well that I've kept it and used it as my main bag. And since then, I made one for a friend, and I have helped a couple friends make their own. But it has a couple opportunities for working with thread or with applique, and that's the front pocket, and then of course the back. This is some wool fabric and just quilting cotton on the lining, and it has an extra couple pockets and places to pin things. So that was my first one, and like I said, since then I've made a couple, and I cut and had been working on another one inspired by, you guessed it, Lord of the Rings. And it is kind of coming to a close. It's taken me a while, but I have apparently overcome some decision-making paralysis. And that was whether or not to do more freehand embroidery on the front. This is going to be the back or the front, whatever you wish. Here's kind of the Tree of Gondor, and some other symbols and fantastical griffins with a little bit of adornment on them. And then you saw me finishing up the pocket for the front. And I think I'm ready to back it, bind it, and call it a day. So some decisions about what I'm going to do for the lining and the binding. The lining, I found this really beautiful Japanese fabric in my stash. I think it's a cotton linen. So it has some heft to it, which will add a little bit of structure. And I'm debating whether I want to add a woven interface just to add a little bit more kind of stiffness. This is a fulled wool woven fabric, and it is it doesn't have a lot of structure to it, so I'm uncertain if that's where I'm going to end up, is adding the woven interfacing or not. But I'm thinking about that for the lining, and then for the binding, just going with, instead of using a wool woven Norwegian ribbon, which is what I did on my previous one, because partly I don't have enough of ones that I think would work for coverage, and I'm not in a position to order it at the moment. And I also thought that just a plain kind of linen looking binding would look, you know, would match aesthetically to the piece. I also could weave my own, as I've been attempting to do for a while, but I really don't want to get hung up on waiting on another handmade piece to finish it. I can enjoy the band making on its own, and if I get some, use it for another project. So that's another reason I had thought about weaving my own. But that being said, I'm thinking about using this kind of brown linen texture. This is a French general fabric to do the binding. When this is assembled, everything like a quilt is kind of, the edges are on the outside, so there will be a raw edge here where everything comes together, and the binding goes on the side and folds over and gets stitched down. So I will be obviously sharing that piece of the process when we get there. So there's, I think that just having a plain fabric binding will be perfect for the overall feel of this piece. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I am thrilled to get it done. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it because, like I said, the initial prototype has really turned into my full use bag. Of course, I can always use another one. I have lots of reasons to store haberdashery and needles and bits and pieces, and you know. But again, it may become a giveaway prize for those that have contributed financially. And I'm also contemplating offering a little class on making your own for this. So there's a couple, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a couple veins to follow on this particular project and where it might go and end up. So that is where I am with this piece, and I think what I will do is cut out the lining and get that sorted out. I'm trying to get a few projects situated before I head south for the weekend. I am staying down at my parents' the following weekend for an Easter celebration with my family, so this won't be with me, and it might be nice to have it all ready to go when I come back. So let's do that. Before we do though, I wanted to just add, you might have seen me use my iron with the wool felt to make the gussets. I cut all of my patterns, including those that I sew, on freezer paper, and it has a waxy feeling on one side and it's a kind of a glossy, waxy feeling, and a matte on the other. And then I just use my iron to put it down, and I can cut around it, and then it just tears away. So it's a really nice hack or tip to use for fabrics that might be slippery, such as knits. And in this case, this particular wool fabric is a bit wonky and wiggly. So just an FYI, and something to think about if you're working with mischievous or unstable fabrics.
Not the one for me, then tell me now what I could do. If I told you that I don't know where I'm going, don't know what to say, but I go without knowing. If I told you that I don't know what to believe in, don't know how to pray, but I pray anyway. Tell me you're the one for me now, 'cause what am I supposed to do? If you are not the one for me, then tell me now what I could do. Tell me you're the one for me now. I pray that you believe it too.
That is really what I have to offer for this last episode of March. The knitting remains the same. I am still working on my Roots and Shoots sweater. I am getting ready to select my next two colors for Yell. I am working on my Salalu mashup. I'm just about to finish the sleeve, and then I need to pick up for the collar, and that will be done. And there's a few odds and ends mittens here. I'm thinking about casting on for my nephew's Bilbo vest. So most of that looks pretty much the same in the making landscape. So on that note, I am going to bid you a fond farewell. Thank you for joining me and investing a little bit of your time here. I look forward to seeing you in April. In the meantime, many fun wishes and blessings. Take care. Bye.